Hey everyone, welcome back to Tactical Magic. This is Molly Mandelberg, your host, and I'm excited to be picking the brain of somebody who is an expert and someone who's doing life in a really beautiful way, I think. And I think this will be valuable to anyone out there who feels overwhelmed, feels like they've been doing too much, or has been maybe looking at how mental health can impact how we show up in our businesses, how we show up in our lives and our relationships, and how we can, through mindfulness, through paying attention to that, through being in that conversation, actually grow as people, grow as entrepreneurs, grow as community members in many ways. So hang tight for a second. We'll be right back. It's not just about mastering technology. It's not just about brand or messaging. It's not just about making more money. It's about showing up in a big way so your people can find you. This is about bringing your most wild and authentic self into the hustle and grind. Welcome to Tactical Magic, a business strategies podcast for the warrior goddess entrepreneur. Awesome. So Sarah Potter is our guest expert, our guest interviewee today. And Sarah believes that through education, sharing our experiences, and having honest conversations about how we're really doing, we allow ourselves to find the type of belonging that we've been searching for and to develop a safe space to connect with like-minded humans. An entrepreneur for the past 12 years, Sarah comes from a world driven by burnout and others overstepping boundaries. She uses these experiences to develop ways of protecting one's peace and implementing a mindset practice to keep her new ventures burning brightly. Welcome to the show, Sarah.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah. So first off, just tell us a little bit about what you do. I know you've got a lot of different kinds of projects and entrepreneurial ventures going on. What are some of the things you're up to?
Sure. So the number one thing that I'm up to currently is I'm working on healing and not being as sick as I have been in the past. I have a chronic illness in addition to several mental illnesses that I manage on a day-to-day basis. So I've really taken a step back from looking for client work and everything and kind of just letting whatever the universe has for me to just toss my way and I'll accept it as needed, which has been a really unique change from the very burnout lifestyle that I had previously, which is how I ended up getting so sick. So I'm really, aside from, for focusing on healing and my mental health, I'm also advocating for other people's mental health through my TikTok channel and YouTube channel, where I am bringing awareness to some of the different aspects of our childhoods or different things about our inner child, different ailments or mental illnesses that impact us and others, and doing it by eating food in a car and reacting to the audio. It's one thing that I've tested out compared to so many different video styles, and that just tends to be the one that goes viral most consistently. So we're going with it. We're doing what the universe says we got to do. In addition to that, I have a couple of hobby projects that I'm working on. I'm currently doing furniture flipping. I just finished hanging photos and decorating the studio space that I created in my garage over the last 3 days. I also have an Etsy shop where I sell mental health merch and things to help you feel empowered through little reminders on your wrist or stickers and t-shirts and sweatshirts, because those are my favorite things. And I have 3 children. So that's another full-time job too.
Yeah, totally. You've got a lot of things going on. What I love from what I'm hearing though, is that because so many of us fall into this, what we can call burnout culture, where we think we have to do so many things. We think doing those things will get us to where we think we want to be, when really it ends up being another tunnel after another tunnel after another tunnel of, if I just get through this, if I just finish this one thing, if I just finalize this project, then I'll be to where I want to be. And it ends up just being this like never ending stream of doing and not focusing on who we're being or how we're doing in the process. Yeah. So what I'm loving is that it sounds like going from a more masculine like attack the world kind of culture to a much more like feminine, receptive of like the universe is guiding me. It's showing me which way to turn. It's showing me what to do next. And I'm following that. And it sounds like that is bringing a lot more of the bliss and the like ease. And I've had that experience too. I'm a very productive person. And I think I sometimes wear that as a badge of like, I can do anything. I can make this happen. And even I have found so much more actual success and like results come from when I'm in a place of like receptivity and ease and like doing things when they feel called to do instead of doing things because I think I have to, or this is the necessary next step or thing. So I really love that. And tell us a little bit about, because you're mentioning following the information. I know there's people out there who are either dabbling in TikTok or avoiding it. And you've made quite a audience for yourself on TikTok by really being your authentic self and sharing just what's up for you in your life and in your journey. So what was the process for you of growing on TikTok? How do you manage your mental health when you're, I mean, kind of encouraging yourself to create content on a regular basis to make TikTok even work? What's that whole thing like?
So when I was pregnant last winter, about January 2021, I was dabbling in TikTok and was thinking about being serious about it, but wasn't really sure. And so at that time, I was doing marketing consulting actively. So I made a bunch of marketing videos that totally flopped and like didn't work. And then I came across this childhood trauma audio from a podcast and was really taken by it and kind of shook. So I was like, okay, I'm sitting here eating breakfast with like egg on toast. Whatever, I don't care. So I started recording myself eating my breakfast and listening to this audio and reacting to it. And it got 10,000 likes and a little over 20,000 views in the like first 3 or 4 hours, which was really surprising. And I was like, there might be something here. So I continued kind of like researching and taking a deeper look into what other people were doing and trying to find where exactly I wanted to land in terms of the content I was talking about. Because the marketing stuff wasn't working, random lifestyle stuff wasn't working, but the mental health stuff really stuck. And I've always been like that best friend who's a / your best friend therapist, advice listener, shoulder to cry on person. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to lean into that because that's where I'm feeling really called right now. And after I had my baby in May last year, I started doing more mental health TikToks. And I was really struggling to find a way to get people to see my content and really get in the FYP. So I started researching more on YouTube, like how to increase my views and best things and to do and tips and tricks. And I came across Robert Benjamin, who at the time was calling himself the CEO of Making You Grow on TikTok, which was like totally cheesy, but he had some really interesting and intriguing tactics to try out. So what he suggested during that time was repost a video that you had get over 10,000 views. And at the end of it, record a new part of yourself saying, follow along or hit the plus sign for more. So I did that and it absolutely just like blew up, at least 50 times the engagement and interactions that the previous video of that childhood trauma one that I mentioned earlier did. And he said, repost it every 60 days. So I did that twice, in addition to creating more mental health content along the lines of like, hey, did you know that your parents didn't have to abuse you in order for you to have childhood trauma? Here are all the other things that cause childhood trauma. And then digging deeper into how trauma affects us on a physical, mental, and emotional level, and how it can also inform different illnesses or disorders. Some people don't like calling mental health disorders, so mental health conditions or issues, whatever it is you feel called to call it. But for me, it's mental illness because I am a diagnosed schizoaffective disorder individual, as well as ADHD and PTSD. So I'm really trying to balance a lot on my plate here, in addition to being a mom and still, figuring out who I am post motherhood. And so I've really been testing out more video styles. For a time, there was a really huge cling or popularity with people doing the split screen where you're talking to yourself in the same screen, then doing trending audio things or making lists and showing people lists of all the ADHD symptoms or uncommon, not talked about ADHD symptoms or things related to that. And I've had some mixed success with some of those things. Really, what continues to stick is me eating food in a car, reacting to audio. Recently, I've been testing out eating food and reacting to audio in different settings. So at the kitchen table or sitting on the couch, and sitting in the car is really what people are interested in and what TikTok continues to promote. So I do that. And, I have one client right now who happened to just fall in my lap, and I was like, cool, all right. And we're working on improving his TikTok viewership and really kind of niching it down into one specific category or two, depending on the direction that we end up taking with his strategy that we will start at the end of this month. But yeah, I mean, TikTok is so finicky, and it's honestly really difficult for a lot of people to break through. But once you have that video that just clicks with people and gets over 500,000 views, start replicating the same things you were doing in that video. Start looking into how you can create the same success with that video that went viral, and just keep doing it over and over and over again. Yeah. Because one thing that I've noticed is it's much easier for people to see my other stuff. So my podcast, my YouTube channel, my Etsy shop. I'm constantly on the FYP, and if I'm constantly in front of as many eyes as possible, I've had a lot of more content to do that. Yeah, so I keep creating the content that really hits it for people and brings them into my channel. I've had a couple people who have messaged me directly and said, hey, I just binge watched your entire channel and library of videos, and it's so eye-opening. Thank you. So some of the content that may not be viral or may not be as successful as you want it to be can still make an impact to people who make the active choice to then go to your profile after they see your video in either their following or FYP channels.
Yeah. And then dig in. And I mean, it sounds kind of gimmicky of hey, you get one video to work and then you just want to duplicate that and replicate that, but you're not necessarily, you're still changing what the valuable content of it is, even if you're eating food in the car. And the beauty of that is, if it goes viral, if you get that message out there, the deeper message of what you're trying to get across, which is mental health awareness, which is you are not alone, which is it's okay to get support. It's okay to acknowledge how you might be different than other people, that message gets to be carried further and wider than it otherwise would be. And so it's you're catering this one unique kind of content creation to what some stupid algorithm says will work, with the deeper secret agenda that the message you care deeply about is going to spread further and wider. And the impact of that is all of those people that are now part of your community are getting that self-awareness. They're getting that recognition. They're getting acknowledged in a way that the rest of their life hasn't been acknowledging in them the beauty and okayness of who they are and how they're actually living. And so, I say, fuck it. I mean, let's be as weird or as algorithmically aligned as possible for the underlying intention of making a message spread far and wide. And I think you're doing a really beautiful job of that. And it's allowing you to start new ventures and have new projects, and also be there for yourself and for your kids and for your audience in a way that maybe wasn't possible before. And that is something worth doing, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it drives my partner really crazy because he's like, just do something other than eating food in a car. And I'm like, that's what the algorithm elevates. And I can create, and I think like the biggest thing for me is I still create content that I love and enjoy too. And I supplement those viral car videos with other informational videos. I just did a whole 5 video series on schizophrenia and schizoaffective disorder to really help bring more awareness to what that is actually like, because it's so tabooed. And I have more disorders and illnesses ready to go for new video series that'll come out too. Because even if I get like 5 to 10% of the people who watch my viral videos onto my page to learn more, I'm making that initial impact, and they want more and they're ready to learn more and their heart is open to it. And continuing to, feed myself into that FYP is a great way to achieve that success with other supplemental content.
Yeah. So let's talk about mental health in relation to being a content creator itself, sure. Because there's a lot of moments where we can feel defeated. There's a lot of times before it takes off where we can make it the wrongness and badness of us, or where we can actually just get super overwhelmed with how much we're trying to do to be on all those platforms, to show up on a consistent basis, to test and try different things to the point that it actually finally takes off or works in a new way. So what do you do or what would you recommend people do to, for one thing, take care of themselves through that process, but also to keep their head up when they're on the sort of journey until it works out?
Yeah. So let's start off with the journey until it works. That is by far one of the most challenging places to be, because you're creating content that you love and you think and feel is so informational and provides so much value, but it's just not hitting. So then you begin to question, like, am I even a valuable person? Am I worthy of this message being sent out to the world and to all the humans that need it? Am I worthy of anything that I'm doing in my life? And questioning yourself and your worth and your value is just this rut that you can get into. But I think the important thing is to apply a scientific mindset to it. You are creating content and testing out new formulas and things. You continue to create iterations of what you have going on, iterations of the same information just presented in different ways to see what hits and what sticks. And when you can approach it from that hypothesis or scientific analysis mindset, it becomes so much easier, and you're not necessarily tying your self-worth and your value to it as much. There's still an element of that. So one thing I do to combat the elements of like, wow, I suck, no one cares, I don't even care anymore, is there's a creator, I can't remember her name. She's an autistic artist who has this really beautiful like daily calendar like mantra, and it's just this beautiful little wooden plaque, and you stick the little card in it, and it gives you this really beautiful message every single day. And I try very hard to look into that message and think about it and sit with it for a little while, maybe 5 or 10 minutes at most. And then I'll write something on that card at the end of the day when I'm ready to switch it out with the next one. And it's something that helps me stay actively in a positive mindset throughout the day versus just being stuck in that mental health rut with your content.
So having a consistent daily practice or ritual that serves your joy, that's outside of or beyond whatever you're creating or doing to try and make it. Yeah.
And maybe your thing is, I'm going to go get coffee with a friend and I'm going to talk with them about this, or it's talking to someone you value or feel is important in your life on the phone. Anything that can be something that you can lean on and really have as a set ritual will help you along the way. And then once you do see like, oh my God, my video went viral, holy cow. And you get really excited about it. And it's very easy to become a little full of yourself and think like, all right, I'm hot shit now. This is going to work. Everything's going to be fine. But then your next video might flop. And the next one and the next one might flop as well. Then you get back into this, oh my God, I'm not worthy. I'm not valuable. This stupid video only did good because I was doing this one thing in it. Take that as success and be like, okay, how can I replicate this? How can I make this better? How can I improve upon this? What are other people doing? Look to your peers in your niche's community and see what people are responding to, and then begin to replicate those too. You know, I don't think in the content world, especially on TikTok, I don't see any shame in replicating what other people are doing, so long as you have your own personal word to it and you have your own unique style that you present to it. There's a motherhood TikToker who has been copied horrendously by another woman, like
Yeah, I saw
literally, yeah, verbatim for everything that she does. And that's not okay. But I think what is okay to be like, I like the trend that she's doing. I'm going to speak from my perspective
right.
rather than just completely imitating another person.
Yeah, no, plagiarism and like being inspired by something and recreating your own version of that are two very different things.
Yes. And it can be sometimes a fine line between inspiration and plagiarism. And if you ever think that you might be plagiarizing someone, send your video to a trusted source or your support group and ask them, do you think I'm plagiarizing? What is your perspective on this? Getting other people's opinions on the content you're trying to create and replicate from others is always a great way to go about it, because then you can feel confident when you post it that you're not going to be seen as a copycat or plagiarizing them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Get outside inspiration. And if it feels like, oh, this might be, then maybe don't make that video. Make one that you feel like, no, this is definitely different enough that it's mine.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're lacking confidence in the content you create, always go back to the drawing board and try something new.
Right. And just to say, there are so many videos of people eating or drinking in cars, and what they're eating or drinking and reacting to or talking about is very different.
Yes. Yeah. And, you know, it's such a common thing to do too. So putting your own twist on something is always a surefire way to know that you're not plagiarizing. And then I think, you know, the next step after you see one success and you begin to see multiple successful videos that have gone viral, you can start to feel a little overwhelmed by the amount of engagement that's coming in, especially if you have notifications turned on your phone. You're going to see so many coming through. I think the first time I had a couple of viral videos go through, I was receiving somewhere between 10 and 15,000 comments in a week. And that's insane. That's a lot of stuff to have to respond to. And one thing that I really talked to myself and sat with and meditated on was, I don't have to respond to every single person in my comments, especially if it's the same comment of like, wow, whoa, didn't realize that, or wow, that really slapped me in the face today. Thanks, TikTok. You don't need to respond to those things. You can like it if you still want to provide some kind of engagement for that post, but you don't have to respond to everybody. Respond to the things that you feel very called to and you think need to be responded to. Always try to resist trolls, because you're always going to have a troll, especially like for me in the mental health space. I have so many boomers that come up in the comments and are all like, oh my God, you guys are so privileged. Look at you millennials, blah, 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 and really trying to shame us for speaking about our mental health. And I try to ignore those ones. Or, you know, if it's a comment where it's just completely hateful, I delete and block that person, because you know what? Protecting my peace is better than dwelling and ruminating over a piece of comment from someone who is literally just projecting their own self-consciousness onto me.
Yeah.
Or others for that matter. And then
delete and block.
Yes.
You're allowed to not comment or respond to everything. Yes. These are very good insights.
There's literally no shame in it. Like I had one person who was such a troll, they made another account and came back to comment. She deleted and blocked me, and I just deleted and blocked them again. Like, don't respond to the haters, because they're there because they feel bad about themselves. And until they open their own hearts up to what you have to say, they're just going to be a troll, and it's not worth your peace.
It's not worth your peace. And it's also okay to not resonate with everyone. It's okay to resonate just with your people. And that doesn't mean other people aren't going to come across you and have an opinion, but you get to decide who and what impacts you and who and what has a say. And above all, as long as you feel like you're creating something of value, that you're in authentic alignment with who you want to be as you show up on these platforms, that matters so much more than a couple people not resonating. Those people can find their way to the door.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, we have a couple minutes left. I want to make sure, how can people find more? What are you on TikTok? What are the best places for people to follow and, get in on all those eating in car videos? Because I'm sure everybody wants to see them.
They are very interesting, especially the way I go about eating the food and the types of food. I always try to find something to eat that people are like, oh, that looks so good. And we'll comment on that because, engagement's engagement.
Yeah.
I am Sarah A.L. Potter on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, as well as on Discord. And I have a whole community on Discord. It's called Mental Health is Magic. Tons of different support groups, and the community is small but growing, which is really fun to see. And I also have my YouTube channel, which you can find Sarah Allison Potter. And those are really the main things. I have a newsletter that I do every Friday on Substack, and that's just Mental Health is Magic and Sarah Potter. And then my website, sarahapotter.com/links, has all of my content, and everywhere you can find me linked there as well. So that can just make it really easy. Go to one place and then spread out like a tree branch to all the other places.
Awesome. Yeah. And some people hang out on some platforms more than others. So it's nice to have that carryover. Last question for those who are like looking at attacking TikTok or doing that. Do you use another software to edit or cut your videos, or what do you do them straight into TikTok?
Sure. So sometimes if they're really simple, just like a one-liner comment thing, I'll film it directly into TikTok and then post it in my stories or in my actual feed itself. For other videos, I'm much more intentional with them. I will create them in an app called Splice, and I will put in captions, post with the app called Subcap. They're both available on iPhone. I'm not sure about Android. I'm able to do I have a few videos where it's the two talking Sarahs, and I use Splice for that in their masking tool within the app. And then I also use Trend Talk to help me identify different audios that are trending within my specific niche on TikTok. And then the more complicated audios that are only available through TikTok and require like precise timing, I'll do those directly in TikTok too. And that, I'll just film on my phone and upload or edit and see whatever I feel like doing at that moment in time. All the car eating ones are done directly in TikTok though.
Yeah. Okay. And the last thing is, do you batch out your videos or do you do them on like a daily basis, like one at a time?
So I batch it out. I have the benefit of taking my autistic son to therapy, and then I have like 50 minutes to kill sitting in the car. So what I'll do once a week is I'll make sure I bring a treat with me or something to eat, and I'll sit in the car and I'll just batch out tons of different audios and videos of me eating food and reacting to the audio. And then with some of my other content, it's more when I feel called to make it. Usually once or twice a month, I'll film like 12 videos at a time, and then schedule those out and get those going.
Awesome. That's what I was wondering. You've shared a lot of magic and inspiration. And I also just want to acknowledge like the beacon of hope that you are for people with mental health issues or who are facing something that isn't comfortable and that doesn't feel quote unquote normal. Like, thank you for sharing your story so that other people can resonate with it and feel seen by it and know that there is community, that there are people able and willing to welcome anyone who feels like they don't belong in whatever normal looks like in this society. So I really appreciate that about you. And you've shared so much magic already, but I always like to ask this question at the end. Are there any last words of wisdom that you want to leave people with?
Don't force it. If it feels like a job and if it feels exhausting, stop doing it. Take a break and come back to it when you're ready. There is nothing wrong with stopping doing all your social media activity if you're not feeling called for it. The whole point of social media is to be communicative and interact with all the people within a specific community that you're in. And if you're not enjoying that, that's normal. That's okay. We can get burnt out on social media very easily. And I think it's important to take breaks or schedule breaks. I have a podcast episode that specifically talks about how to take a social media break with my podcast, Social Media Therapy. So everyone can feel free to listen to that because there is some solid advice from the guest I had on how to do that effectively, especially if it comes to running your business.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And thank you so much for being on the episode today.
Of course, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you everyone out there for listening. And whatever happens, keep asking big questions and taking bold action because you are here for a reason. We'll see you next week.